Hey everybody, how's it going? Pat here, and doing another tier list. I did a Dark Souls boss tier list like a couple of months ago, and I just like doing tier lists. So this one's not going to be a video game one, as you can see by the title, but this is going to be a Kiss album tier list. Um, so I've decided to branch out this channel into a bit of music because I mean I'm either playing games or fucking listening to music. So those are probably my like top two interests like since forever. So why not combine both for this channel? So yeah, Kiss is a band I've been listening to on and off since I was very little, probably since like the early 2000s, like whenever my brother got into them. And just in the last like year or so, I've like really gotten back into them, and I've listened to like every album like dozens and dozens of times over. So I've decided what the hell and this is something for me as well because like if someone asks me like, oh, what's your favorite Kiss album? My answer changes almost every fucking day, and I'm like that with everything. Except for games, because most of the time, if someone asks me what my favorite game is, it's usually Baldur's Gate, because which is very surprising to most people because I mostly play Souls games, but I guess they're a lot more replayable. But anyhow, so I've got the tier list loaded up here, and for some reason this includes their like solo albums too. I don't really consider them Kiss albums, so I'm not really. I don't think I'm going to include them in the video, but we're going to be talking about all the rest of them. So I'm going to be doing this chronologically because otherwise it's not going to make much sense. So we're going to start off with Kiss, their self-titled album, and I mean, what do you say? Like, I mean, this has to go on in an S, right? Because basically, like half the album is still played in the live concerts like today. Like I saw Kiss when they were here back in like August, and like half the set list was from the original album. I mean, you got Strutter, you got Cold Gin, Deuce, their 100,000 Years, Black Diamond. I mean, a lot of their standards come from this album, and it's an album that actually I don't really know. I mean, obviously I wasn't alive at the time, but I'm not even sure if this album like really took off when it first came out because I know that Kiss weren't like an instant success. They had put out a couple of albums and then it was finally their sort of time to be recognized because I think it was around about yeah, I don't know actually because I know Destroyer was like a sort of a big album for them. Like that was when their sort of production really went up. But yeah, I put Kiss's self-titled in the S tier because I mean it's got some of my favorite songs on there. I really love Cold Gin, and I really love Strutter, and Kiss and Time and Deuce are pretty good songs as well. They're probably some of my favorites. So Kiss definitely goes in the top S tier. Now we've got our next album, which is Hotter Than Hell. Hotter Than Hell. I always thought the production on this album was really kind of shitty. Like, I don't know, it sounds like it's been recorded in a fucking tin shed. I don't know. For some reason, it's very, like, low quality album. But, I mean, that kind of makes it, in a way, it makes it sound better. I mean, this might be my inner black metal fan coming through here, because I tend to like my black metal very raw and low quality, recorded in the fucking IKEA toilet. But it just makes the song sound way better. So I mean, like the side one of the album is amazing. Like you got to choose, and you got Parasite. Going Blind is one of Kiss's best songs, and I really love the cover the Melvins did. It's very heavy and depressing. Then you got the title song Hotter Than Hell, which is pretty good. I really like Strange Ways too. Strange Ways and Coming Home. I particularly like the version that is on the MTV Unplugged concert. because I think they open with that song, don't they? Coming Home. Pretty sure. You got Watching You and Mainline are songs that I put on repeat a lot as well. Um, this probably goes in the ooh shit. I probably put it in the S tier as well. I think I like Hotter Than Hell a bit better than the original Kiss album for sure. Yeah, it just has, I think it's a bit more consistent with their songs, and I really like the sort of crappy quality of it as well. I don't know why, but it just makes it better. All right, next up we got Dress to Kill. The Dress to Kill. I've this is probably one of their older albums I haven't listened to as much as the others. There's still a lot of good songs in here. You got Room Service. You got Ladies in Waiting. Uh, Rock Bottom is good. Anything for My Baby. She's good. And you got Rock and Roll All Night, which is probably one of their most popular songs. But I don't know, something about this album just doesn't really bring me back as much as the others for some reason. I don't know why, but because I mean, I've heard Rock and Roll All Night, so many fucking times throughout my life. It's like me with Black Sabbath's Paranoid. Like I've heard Paranoid. I've heard bloody Iron Man and War Pig so goddamn much that like I could probably go another fucking 10 years without listening to it again. So like, I'd put Dress to Kill it at an A tier. It's still a great album. It's just not as good as others, in my opinion. And there's probably gonna be some people going, "What the fuck, man? What the hell are you thinking? You can't do that." Well, it's my list, so I'll do what I want. All right, next we have it doesn't have a live album on there as far as I can see, so maybe I'll talk about that on another video. Now we have Destroyer. Now, Destroyer, I think, is one of the albums I remember the most when I was a kid, but I definitely don't think of that as one of their best albums. There's a lot of great songs on here. You got Detroit Rock City, King of the Nighttime World, God of Thunder. Like I don't know, it's one of those songs that I think it's heaps better live, but for some reason I don't really like the studio album version of it. I don't know why. Great Expectations is a really good song. Flaming Youth is good. Sweet Pain is good. Shout Out Loud is good. Beth is really good. I have a very soft spot for this song for some reason. Pretty much every song on this album is very good. But again, there's probably albums that I don't know. Now that I look at it, Destroyer has every song on Destroyer is a song that I do enjoy. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just thinking because like there are albums where every fucking album's gonna end up on the S tier. Yeah, I don't know. I'll whack Destroyer on an A tier because it's a Kiss album that sounds least like a Kiss album. If that makes any sense. Like it's very sort of bombastic more than the others. I don't know. I'm just trying to think. All right, next album we have is Rock and Roll Over. Rock and Roll Over. Again, it's a song. It's a song. It's an album that has a couple of good songs on it, but a lot of them I could probably take or leave. Like I Want You is a good song. Take Me, it's like eh. Calling Dr. Love's a good song. Ladies Room's a good song. Baby Driver, I could probably go without listening to that because I mean, let's be real here. A lot of Peter Chris's songs are a bit subpar compared to the others. Love 'Em and Leave 'Em isn't too bad. Mr. Speed's a pretty catchy song. See You in Your Dreams is probably one of my favorite songs on here. It's a very short song, but it's super duper catchy, and I find myself getting it stuck in my head a lot. It's very, very memorable. And then Hard Like Woman is probably one of Chris's best like performances. I mean, it's written by Paul. That's probably why it's such. I think it's such a good song. So I do really like Peter Chris's vocals because they remind me a lot of Rod Stewart. I think when Paul was writing this song, I think he did have Rod Stewart in mind I feel like I read that somewhere, but maybe I'm just pulling it out of my ass. I don't know. But yeah. But despite having a lot of songs I enjoy in here, I'd probably put it on a B tier because the whole album itself just it's very inconsistent. There's some good songs on here. There's some very songs on here. Uh, yeah, that's all she wrote really. Love Gun is next. We got Love Gun. Love Gun's a very consistent album. I Stole Your Love is a great opener. Christine 16 is a good song, despite it being very questionable subject matter nowadays. I always feel bad for liking that song because it's literally just like it's a song about Gene Simmons perving on like a young girl. Like it's, I don't know how to feel about that. Love for Sale is okay. Shock Me is a very good song, as are most of Ace Frehley's songs. Tomorrow and Tonight is okay. Always thought of it as a Paul Stanley solo song for some reason. Um, I don't know. It sounds like something that should have been on his first solo album. Love Gun, I mean that's a classic. That's always played in every concert. Hooligan it's okay. It's better than Baby Driver from Rock and Roll Over. Almost Human's a very weird song. It's a Gene song and it's okay. Plasticaster is probably the best song on the album. I love that song so goddamn much. And then you got the cover of the Crystals, Then She Kissed Me, which it's okay. I got nothing bad to say about it. If I were to whack it somewhere, I'd probably put it on an A tier for sure. It's it'd probably be an S tier if it had one or two more like really good songs on it, but there's a couple I could fucking you'd like never listen to again. All right, the next album we've got, I think it's Dynasty, right? Yes, it is. Okay. When I first started re-listening to a lot of Kiss's albums, Dynasty was always one I was sort of like, this is like the disco album or whatever. It's probably not very good. I gave it a listen again, and it's actually pretty darn good. There are some really good songs on here. I Was Made for Loving You, which again is probably one of Kiss's more popular songs. 2000 Man, the Rolling Stones cover, is really good. Ace Frehley does a very good job singing. Sure Know Something's very good. I still hear that one on the radio, surprisingly, more than the others. Dirty Living is a really good Peter Criss song. That Dirty Living's probably one of my most listened to songs on that album. His vocals are just absolutely like, ooh, they got soul in them. Those vocals, like goddamn, you can really feel that you believe what he's singing about, you know. Then you got Charisma, which is another great Gene song. That's probably also like I think that the two or three most listened to tracks on this album are probably Dirty Living, Charisma, and X-Ray Eyes. That's another great Simmons one. Every song on this album is very catchy. Magic Touch is great. Hard Times is I think that's one of Ace's best songs. Hard Times on the Kiss albums anyway. I don't know about his solo stuff and stuff in the future. Save Your Love's probably the weakest song on the album. Which I mean, but it's still good. Like it's like saying fucking, buddy, I don't know. That's like saying Deep Purple are worse than Black Sabbath. Like Deep Purple's still like a 9 out of 10, whereas Black Sabbath's a 10 out of 10. It's fucking, it's still great. That being said, I probably put Dynasty on an S tier. It's very surprising for me because for some reason I've got this idea in my head that Dynasty's just not that great of an album, but it is. And then we got Unmasked, which is next. Unmasked is another really weird album. It's very poppy sort of album compared to the others. Like just thinking about, like without even talking about the songs, I'd probably put it on a B tier. This was when tensions between band members were sort of rising, and there was all these infighting and blah blah blah. But even then, they still got some great songs. You got Is That You, which I think is the first instance in a Kiss song where they swear. Paul says bitch. I don't know. That's a fun fact, I guess. Shandy, which I think is for some reason it did really well over here in Australia. That song like did very well in Australia. It seemed to resonate with the Australian public for whatever reason. Talk to Me, it's another great Ace Frehley song. Naked City, which for some reason I always thought it was being sung by Ace because their vocals sound very similar in that song. Makes the World Go Around is okay. Tomorrow is pretty good. Two Sides of the Coin. There's actually a lot of Ace songs on this album, and a lot of them are pretty decent. Torpedo Girl, which is a pretty fun song, and You're All That I Want is an okay song as well. Yeah, like there are okay songs in here, but if I were to like pick Kiss albums I want to listen to, this would be pretty low on the list, honestly. Music from the Older, I'm gonna automatically put that in a C. It's not a terrible album, but it's just a very, very weird Kiss album. Like Kiss and concept albums just don't seem to match very well. Like I don't know. I guess this was them trying to, and I mean this is their only like sort of progressive release they ever did. Like it's bordering on like prog rock and art rock, which is just something that I don't see Kiss ever doing ever. There's some good songs on here. I mean, you got the Just a Boy, you got World Without Heroes, and I think the Oath is a pretty good song as well. And Escape from the Island is a pretty cool instrumental. But every other song I don't really remember very well, to be quite honest. So it honestly hasn't left a very big impression on me. So that goes in the C tier for sure. Now we're getting to the 80s, like, you know, glam sort of heavy metal stuff, which is personally my favorite era of Kiss. There's probably going to be a lot of S's and A's here. Creatures of the Night. This album is so goddamn heavy. It is ridiculously chunky. Like, this is probably due to Eric Carr on drums. His drums are just immaculately heavy. Like, they are... There's nothing heavier. You got Creatures of the Night, that's a great song. Saint the Sinner. Keep Me Coming, which I think is one of Kiss's more underrated songs. That song's really, really cool. Rock and Roll Hell, pretty good. Danger, that's a very catchy one as well. I Love It Loud, probably one of Simmons' better tracks. I Still Love You, probably Kiss's most like dreary song, other than anything from Carnival of Souls. And then you got War Machine, which is a very, very good track that still gets played in concert. I'll probably put it in an A, because I don't really listen to this one as much as the other 80s ones, but it's still a great album. So, what else have we got? We got Lick It Up. This is the album with got Vinnie Vincent. I think he was on the other album as well. What was that? What's his face? Yeah, Vinnie Vincent was on lead guitar on that one. And he's on lead guitar this one as well. Lick It Up. Lick It Up has a lot of great songs on it. This is the first time they ever came out. Unmasked, which is pretty exciting. You got Exciter, which is a very exciting opener, which is fair enough. Not For the Innocent, which is, I think around this time, this is when Gene's songwriting sort of went a little bit. I think it was around this time he was trying to become an actor. He was doing his movie sort of stuff, so he wasn't putting all his full focus in Kiss. And you see it with the caliber of songwriting here on these later albums. You got Lick It Up, which is a very good album. Yeah, it is a very good album, but it's also a very good song. Young and Wasted, which is pretty good for a Gene track at this point in time. Give Me More, pretty good. All Hell's Breaking Loose. I loved the clip for this one when I was a kid, and I still love it because it's like it's Kiss, and they're in like a fucking like a Mad Max like post-apocalyptic like town. Like it's so weird. Like it's I don't know, but it's great. I love it. That was one of my favorite clips when I was a kid. Million to One, which is one of my personal favorites from this album. Fits Like a Glove, another favorite of mine. Dance All Over Your Face is okay, and then On the Eighth Day, I think that's sort of an underrated track as well, for a underrated Gene Simmons track anyway. I probably put it in an A. Doesn't really get as much of a listen as many other Kiss albums. Now we've got Animalize, which I think it's probably one of my favorite Kiss albums. Um, all the songs on here are just top tier, like 80s glam. You got I've Had Enough Into the Fire, which is one of the best openers ever, in my opinion. It's so ferocious and just like Paul's vocals on it are just ear piercing. Like I don't know how the hell he manages to fucking hit those notes. Like they're ball busting. We got Heaven's on Fire, which is another song where Paul's vocals are just like in the stratosphere. You got Burn Bitch Burn, which is pretty good. Get All You Can Take, which I think they say fuck in that song, or I'm just mishearing it. I don't know. Lonely is the Hunter, which is probably one of Gene's weakest efforts in any Kiss album. That song is just, ooh, I don't know. Something about it just isn't good. I don't know what it is. I can't specifically put it. Maybe it's just the lyrics. I think are a bit crappy. I don't know. Under the Gun is a good one. Thrills in the Night, which is a probably one of their best 80s songs. I love Thrills in the Night. It's such a like it's very very 80s. It's the lyrics and everything. While the City Sleeps is also that's a pretty good Simmons song for this time period. Just great. And then Murder in High Heels, which I'm honestly having a bit of a hard time recalling. But I listened to this album heaps recently. Like in the last probably fucking like 6 months, I've probably listened to this album maybe 20, 30 times easily. So it goes in my A tier. Something about 80s Kiss just does it for me. I don't know why. Now we got Asylum. Asylum is probably my favorite Kiss album overall. I think I've said that about every fucking Kiss album so far. But good lord, this album is gold. Every song on this album is great. King of the Mountain, another great opener. Probably not as good as I've Had Enough. Anyway, Slice It's a great song. Who Wants to Be Lonely is one of the best songs on the album. It's got that driving like Eric Carr drums and he just thumps. Absolutely thumps. It's so good. Trial by Fire, pretty good. I'm Alive, very good song. Love's a Deadly Weapon, decent Gene track. Tears Are Falling, another great song off that album. Secretly Cruel, another pretty decent Gene track. Radar for Love, it's very, very reminiscent of Led Zeppelin. It's something that could have come off like Led Zeppelin 2. And All Night, which is one of my personal favorites from them ever. Because I remember the clips for all these. Like I think there were clips for Who Wants to Be Lonely, Tears Are Falling, and All Night, and they have the most like colorful outfits on ever. Like that, it's the most 80s thing you could ever think of. They just stick out in my mind. Like I watched these clips probably when I was like 4 or 5 years old, and even back then I knew the outfits were absolutely fucking outrageous. So just for that, this gets an S. If anyone can find a cheap shirt of this album that doesn't cost like fucking $200, let me know because I want one. All right, next up we got Crazy Nights. Crazy Nights was a very like ill-received Kiss album for some reason. Even though there's quite a few decent tracks on here, nothing like super duper spectacular, but like this album is still very enjoyable. You got the Crazy Crazy Nights, which is a pretty good album. I'll Fight Hell to Hold You, which is another stellar vocal performance by Paul, where I think someone is literally grabbing him by the giblets. Bang Bang You, it's a pretty fun song. It's also Desmond Child wrote it with Paul, the person who worked very closely with old Meatloaf. God bless. You got No No No. And now looking through these tracks, a lot of these tracks sort of blend together. A lot of them do kind of sound the same because I'm thinking of them and I'm going like, wait a minute. Hell or High Water is a very good Simmons track. My Way is pretty good. It's not a Frank Sinatra cover. I'll tell you what. Then you got When Your Walls Come Down. another pretty good track. Reason to Live, probably one of the best tracks on that album. It's a very good sort of, would you call it a ballad? I don't know. You got Good Girl Gone Bad, Turn on the Night, and Thief in the Night, which are both pretty good songs. I mean, you have three songs in the album that have night in the title, and so everything sort of blends in a bit. That being said, I'd probably give it, I'd put it in the B tier, which is it's surprising me even, because when I think of 80s albums, I think like, ooh, Kiss, they're all great. But I don't know, that one, it's got a lot of very average songs on it. They're okay, but I wouldn't. Again, this is an album I really wouldn't go out of my way to listen to. Now we got Hot in the Shade. Hot in the Shade is their longest album, I think. It's just under an hour. It's very long for a Kiss album. So that also means there's a lot of potential for filler, which on this album there's a surprisingly low amount of filler. So you got Rise to It, which is a pretty good opener. Betrayed, which is a very like sort of aggressive Kiss song. Hide Your Heart, which again it's a clip that I remember from when I was a kid. Prisoner of Love, which is okay. Read My Body, I like the lyrics on that one. Love's a Slap in the Face, that's a very catchy song. Forever, another great ballad from Kiss. I really love that album. I really love that song even. And Silver Spoon, which is a very fun song to listen to. Good song to sing along to. Cadillac Dreams, it's okay. King of Hearts is very good. The Street Giveth and The Street Take It Away is not so bad. You Love Me to Hate You is a very underrated Kiss song. I love it, and it's probably one of another stellar Paul Stanley vocal performances. He reaches highs that I could only dream of. Somewhere Between Heaven and Hell, probably one of the better Gene songs. Little Caesar is and Boomerang are okay. I mean, it's a good thing they're like the last tracks of the album, because they probably would have done a lot worse if they were in the middle. And one of the very few vocal performances of Eric Carr on Little Caesar, so that's worthy of note. Yeah, I think it goes in an A. I think if they got rid of a couple of songs on here and made it a little bit more like shorter, it would be an S. But there are just a couple of songs that's just sort of like, brings it down a bit. Next we got Revenge. I think Revenge and Asylum are probably my two overall favorite Kiss albums. I mean, you got Unholy, which is a very heavy song for Kiss. You got Take It Off, which is just about, I mean, you guessed it, it's about strippers. It's a very fun song to listen to. Got Tough Love, very great song. Spit's also another very fun song. A lot of the songs on this album are about sex, now that I realise. God Gave Rock and Roll to You, which I didn't know was actually a cover. I honestly thought that was a... Because I wondered why is it called Rock and Roll to You too, but it's literally the second version of a song that already exists. And the song was very, like, the original one was more Christian in theme, so I guess that's why they had to call it two, because they changed it. Then you got Domino, which is also a very fun song, probably one of the best Gene songs in my opinion. Heart of Chrome is really cool. Thou Shalt Not is an okay Gene song. Every Time I Look at You is another great ballad. Paralyzed is pretty good, and I Just Wanna is a very good album closer. Yeah, let's get to an S. I don't know, this is a very fun album to listen to, and one of their heaviest, I think, as well. Then we're getting to the more like stranger stuff. Now we've got Carnival of Souls, and I listened to this album a couple months ago for the first time all the way through, and at first I didn't really like it. And I mean, actually no, this is the longest Kiss album. This just goes for about an hour. I mean, it definitely stands out from the other Kiss albums, because I mean, it's basically grunge and like alternative rock. Like it sounds nothing like any other Kiss stuff. Like you thought the older was weird. Like this one's even weirder. But strangely enough, I love it. There are so many good songs on this fucking album. Like You got Hate, you got Rain, Martian Slave, Childhood's End, I Will Be There, uh, In My Head. There's a lot of good Gene tracks on this. Like, I honestly think Gene really excels with heavier sort of tracks. Like, it seems like the heavier the album is, the better the tracks are. Like, Seduction of the Innocent is a very good Gene track and probably one of the best tracks on the album. I put that I had that on repeat for like a whole week when I was listening to it. The last three tracks are a bit compared to the rest of the album, but honestly, I put it on an A tier. I think putting an S would be a bit too controversial, like because it's basically not Kiss, even though it is, if that makes any sense. Um, what else? We got Psycho Circus. This one's a weird one because I remember as a kid I really liked listening to Psycho Circus, but listening to it now, it just sort of I don't know. There's something missing. There are a couple of pretty good songs on it. Like you got Psycho Circus, that's a pretty good one. Then you got Within. I Pledge Allegiance to the State of Rock and Roll is a very fun song. Into the Void's a good Ace song. Like I don't know, there's something missing from this album, and it's just I can't put my finger on it. Like I have to put it in a B tier because like yeah I don't know. It's just hard to describe. Like the songs on here are good, but I just don't find them repeat worthy. If that makes any sense, I don't know. Now we're getting into the more newer sort of stuff, which is coincidentally stuff that I'm also less familiar with. So we got Sonic Boom. Sonic Boom. It's very annoying listening to Sonic Boom because for some reason it's not on Spotify. I don't know why, but I remember listening to it when around the time it came out, and it's a pretty decent album. Like I remember Modern Day Delilah, the opener is a very good track. Never Enough is pretty catchy. Nobody's Perfect is the sort of quintessential Gene track where he talks about how great he is. um, All for the Glory is kind of good. Dangerous is very catchy. I'm an Animal's an okay Gene track, and Say Yeah is actually one of the best songs in the album, which is surprising because it's like the last track on the album. Because usually, if when you think of the last track, it's the sort of stuff that gets put on the wayside. But it's actually a very good track, and Tommy Fayer's When Lightning Strikes is one of the more memorable tracks in my opinion. I put it in a B. Like this isn't an album I'd probably listen to very much, but yeah, it's okay. Then Monster. What do we do with you? There's a couple of good songs on here. That the ones that I remember the most are Hell or Hallelujah, Back to the Stone Age, The Devil Is Me, and the other ones I vaguely remember. Like nothing really sticks out at me though. It's like in one way like it's good that Kiss is still doing stuff. I mean that being said, this album came out 10 years ago, so I don't think they're gonna put another album out anytime soon or ever. But I mean, it's kind of it's good that they're still doing what they love, you know. So I mean, I'll put it in a C because it just isn't good compared to the others. If that makes any sense, it just doesn't scratch the itch as the classic albums do. But yeah, no. Fortunately, you gotta have some bad ones and you gotta have some good ones. Anyway, that's what's the whole list, isn't it? Actually, I'm surprised at how many albums made it to the S tier. Like, yeah, I mean, looking back on it, I mean, I don't think there's really anything I'd want to change. Like, yeah, like I was mighty tempted to put Carnival of Souls in the S tier just because it has no right to be as good as it is because it's basically a band having a. It's like if Black Sabbath had a crack at like fuck it and like rap or something. Like I don't know. Like by all accounts, it should be fucking terrible, but you never know. Maybe it'd be great. I'm pretty satisfied with how that is. So If you disagree with my opinion, please let me know in the comments. And I'm curious to see what everyone else's tier list would look like and what your favorite Kiss album is, because again, it's something that changes day to day with me. Like one day I'll say it's Asylum, next day I'll say it's Revenge, then another day I'll be like, oh, Dynasty, hell yeah. But yeah, I'm curious to see what everyone else thinks. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed me rambling on about Kiss albums for over a half an hour. Holy shit, it's 35 minutes. And I hope you'll join me for the next tier list, whatever the hell it'll be. I'm not even sure myself, but I have fun doing these. So yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.